procurement, sales, marketing, finance, account production, distillery operations, human resource, and legal project. Subdivision of process. All the key functions is to be subdivided into the key activities and sub-activities. Responsibility matrix. Responsibility should be clearly defined for the initiation of the approval and review of each activity. Deviation approval. Approval matrix should be defined in SOP itself to approve the deviation on the policy. All key users need to be performed the activity should be consulted with the before defining the process. Joint workshops to be done with the all end users. Review. SOP should be reviewed annually to take care of the experience of the last 1 year. Audits. Internal audit should be given a specific scope to audit these SOPs at least for 1 year. Use of IT. The SOP of the matrix should be automated in such a way for good software which can ensure the compliance of the all financial operating procedures. Thank you.
Santosh, a very dry subject, but very important one. You can believe without financial management, there's no viability. Quick question from the audience. Please, make yourself known.
See, whatever we are
Sorry, get a speaker first.
whatever we are
No, wait, get the microphone.
see, in a nutshell, cost of cane comes 80%. Remaining 20% also, whatever you are talking, controlling and all these things. Out of this 80% is HNT. HNT debts or arrears remaining for each factory remains from 1 crore to 20 crores. Even the big companies like Renuka and all. So all whatever you save, that goes HNT arrears, these are all unrecoverable. Unrecoverable. Yes, together simply we are showing the balance sheet, recoverable and managing balance sheets. We, ISMA, whatever organizations, they have to approach the government. We have to make a stringent laws enforcement regarding HNT recovery. See, when you go to court, it takes 5 years, 6 years, 10 years, we are unable to recover. See, like so many laws are we are making for rape, that, this and that, like this. Somebody took, he has not come and done means he should be arrested and recovered like this, such a stringent acts, it has to come.
Look, sorry, can you just ask a question? We don't want a sort of long preamble.
Yes, okay, with this I am concluding. My request is all organizations to approach governments and enact laws in such a way, these are all recoverable immediately. Thank you.
There are some factories which have zero depth of the HNT.
Yes.
Like Rajaram Bapu, they have made very stringent rules, very stringent documentation they are making, and a very strong legal team they are pursuing with all this HNT recovery.
Thank you, sir. Good morning, everybody. Namaskar. Hello. I will speak, the presentation will be in English. I will take questions in either Hindi or Marathi, either is fine. Yeah. Thank you for the introduction on the dignitaries and the dais and everybody here. I'm a part of Oxford University. I have a research company of my own, and we have been working on AI. So I'm not a sugar industry expert, nor am I an agriculture expert. But for the last 2 years, we have run a course on Oxford for AI in agriculture technologies, which is a very unique course. We started off looking at climate change. And from then onwards, of course, Ukraine happened. And then everybody was looking at the supply chain, the food supply chain security. So for us, the course became bigger and bigger. And what we are looking at is one of the areas which we thought about is how can AI be applied to solve real problems, and this is something I'm going to talk to you about in broad terms. So I won't talk too much about myself, so most of what I do is you can find it online. Sorry. Yeah. So most of what I do you can find online. I mostly applied with the University of Oxford, and most of my work is in AI with engineering sciences, and with that we applied it to agriculture. So, and this is my LinkedIn profile. Feel free to connect to me on this. It's easier to connect this way. So I was in the White House last year, and that's me in the White House. And what is interesting is that when you talk to people at that level, correct? I was basically working with the European Union, we're working with senators in the White House on AI. People are afraid of AI. Yes, वो Arnold Schwarzenegger आ जाएगा, Terminator हो जाएगा. You know, we are going to lose it. But I think that the real thing is what is more interesting, and I talk to the same people in the White House and same people in the EU and same people here, is that it's all about solving real problems. Correct? I mean, Mr. Raviji talked about this yield problem, correct? And I think that that's a real problem. It affects here and now, and how you can use something different. Now, I'll talk to you about one very interesting idea. I saw it yesterday on my LinkedIn profile. Columbia University said that using AI, it is no longer guaranteed that the fingerprints are the same. Meaning the fingerprints are different. Meaning that they have done so much of pattern recognition that they feel that they can prove that your fingerprint is not unique using AI, correct? Now to me that's a game changer. We have been given this assumption based on our understanding that fingerprints are unique, but this thing from Columbia University says no, it is not. And this is sort of challenging the basic understanding using very high level of data, very high level of pattern recognition is what I think AI is all about. And to a large extent, that's really what I'm going to talk to you about today. Yes? So this is our course at Oxford, and this is what we cover. So we started looking at AI with agriculture, AI with climate change, and we progressed it from there. And if there is a key message I want to share is with you here is we are looking for collaborators. So what we are looking for is we think the problem we are trying to solve is addressed partly by Dr. Ravi's talk about the yield and the variation in the yield. But we are looking for global collaborators in this way, and we feel that there is enough potential for all of us to work together, which is how I ended up in the BSI in the first place. So the outline of my talk is basically this. Some of it is a little bit technical, but the key message of my talk should be quite simple to understand, right? The technical, what we are trying to do, this is our research in Oxford. We are looking at yield prediction. We are looking at obviously applying AI for yield prediction. And there are some challenges to applying AI for yield, and I'll talk to you about this. And also talk to you about some of the business models we are trying to translate that into, because in the end, you have to translate that into numbers. And I'm going to talk to you about how that applies to the sugarcane industry, and also how that applies to a specific algorithm we are using called causal machine learning. So what we are trying to do is trying to understand the impact of cause and effect of something. And this is actually not easy, and I will tell you why. Because there are too many factors involved and there are too many factors that change. So just because you put AI on top of it doesn't mean that you can solve the problem just by throwing data at it. And this is what we're trying to do. So what we are trying to do is using something called economically optimal nitrogen rates. I use nitrogen as an example, but it's any input going into the yield. Looking to combine with causal options, using Monte Carlo simulations to build the model. So that's a little bit technical, but what I'm trying to tell you is that we're trying to simulate the model. And then what I really want to do is apply it to sugarcane real examples. And this is why sort of what Dr. Ravi is talking about and others are talking about is of interest to what we are trying to do. So yield prediction is a complex multidisciplinary problem. And the reason why it's a problem is because there are too many factors involved into it. That includes weather, climate change, etc., etc. I'm going to go through some of those factors with that. But then the other issue is that even when we use AI at the moment, it is very simple, correct? So you're using something like time series, remote sensing, satellite imagery, etc. Some of that is not even AI, correct? So it is not an algorithm. If you have a satellite imagery, we can say that this crop is what is the nature of this particular area, etc. So What we're trying to do, the reason why it's a problem is because of the dynamic nature of the contributory factors involved, and the previous speakers have done a great job, and certainly for someone like me, who is not an expert on sugarcane, to understand how many of those factors are changing and how they can evolve. And of course then there is the policy angle, which number of you have raised here as well. So these are some of the factors that impact yield. So when you look at environmental factors, there is everything in the soil, then the biological factors, then there are a whole bunch of management related factors that include the soil, crop rotation, the cover cropping, etc. And the issue here from an AI point of view, if anybody has done anything with machine learning or deep learning or even knows a little bit of regression or classification, etc., if you try to get data for all of these things and try to put it in the one pot, it's actually not easy, right? Because you need to know all this data for all these times and things like this, and there is so many moving parts that just because you put AI and you call it machine learning or you call it deep learning doesn't mean that you can solve a complex problem, an interdisciplinary problem like yield, which is the challenge which we are trying to address, and I'm sure that you in the audience are also very interested in this idea. So then there I'm just going through some more factors like pest control and social factors, etc. And there is already a lot of work done in this area, correct? So there is a lot of work around remote sensing. So there is a lot of work happening, and we are doing a lot of that as well. So we are working with the Gates Foundation, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, looking at the satellite data, looking at satellite data for crop prediction and so on. So if you are at Krushik next week, you can see what we are trying to do with the University of Oxford and Microsoft and the ADT Baramati Trust to look at what we call the farm of the future. So we're taking a piece of land and putting everything on that, drones, sensors and everything, and trying to predict how AI is going to impact the yield with something. So this is something which we have made live. If you happen to be in Krushik, which is what I was here for this week, so it's nice for practice here. So what I'm trying to say to you is that much of this technology from a sensing level is already present, and it is not easy, but it is possible to do. And this is another slide with that. The challenge here is what is called as causal problem. So I will explain it to you very simply, correct? If you see this picture on the left hand side, there is a cat. The cat is sitting on the roof, correct? And it is sitting at the exact point where the roof is bending, correct? Now what you don't know from an AI perspective is, did the cat cause the roof to bend? Of course not, correct? But it just happens that the cat is sitting at the exact point where the roof is bending. So you might be able to say that the cat could have caused it, but it is not a right conclusion, correct? And this is the problem which is very common in AI, especially if you have a very, very large number of parameters. You don't know which parameter is causing the effect of the yield or whatever it is. And you don't know that if you change it by 10%, what is the output on the yield. So this is what is called a causal problem. Similarly, on the right hand side, you can see the people pushing the truck. The guy who is sitting on the truck and trying to push the truck has no effect on the output, right? And this is what happens. This is what happens in a lot of people who talk about machine learning, who talk about AI. They miss a very fundamental point, that what is the cause and what is the effect. And if you can understand that, then you can actually take a step to solving the problem. Now, this is actually, there is a lot of analysis on this. So this is my colleague Alexander Bolak from Israel and also working with me in Oxford. So we are developing a lot of the AI behind some of those ideas. The mathematics for that is created by this guy whose name is Dr. Judea Pearl, who won the Turing Award in mathematics in 1982. The Turing Award is like the Nobel Prize of mathematics. So the maths behind that is very complex, but it's taken a few years to take that maths and to put it into an AI which can be applied, and this is what exactly we are trying to do. So what does it mean? So it means that we are trying to define cause and effect. We are trying to define counterfactuals. Counterfactuals meaning what would happen if you change one parameter by 10%, or what would be the effect, and there are other factors involved. So how does this impact yield production? So applying this to yield, what we are trying to do is understanding the causal factors, understanding the predictive analysis, optimizing the agriculture, and looking at all the policy changes for that. And there is a paper which I am referencing here, which was the most similar paper we found to what we are trying to do. And we try to sort of take this idea and to extend it to other areas, especially to sugarcane, what we are looking at. So this paper is written by this guy called Kakimoto. And what he talked about is the basic idea of using this algorithm to understand what is called economically optimal nitrogen rates. So the thing here is that if you look at precision agriculture, and some of the people who mentioned this idea, that the ideas which come into precision agriculture are extremely data driven, and they are extremely controlled, correct? So what you can do is control the input and control the output. And if you try to understand that, then we are trying to understand how we can apply those techniques and scale them to apply to very large number of farms, and then make it economically viable to do so. So this is the basic idea what we are trying to do. And we try to take this concept and they applied it to this idea and try to apply the treatments to these ideas, and they try to simulate the yield. Yes, so this is the basic idea what we are trying to do. The difference from sort of precision agriculture and what we are trying to do is we are trying to do the algorithm behind it. So precision agriculture, you can say that you can just apply water or you can apply a nutrient at a certain point, but how much to apply and when to apply and how to do when these factors are changing is the main question, what we are trying to address at Oxford from this algorithm. And like I said, the one message I would like to have is we like to collaborate with somebody if you are interested in this area, especially speak to us, speak to me, and speak to Shivaji sir, who can happily share a profile with you, and so on and so forth. So we use this particular yield response function called Mittelish ball, and we try to sort of use standard techniques in yield production, and then try to apply the mathematics behind that. And then we applied particular things at cell level, which is the crop with that. And the business model effectively is trying to understand the input to look at the output, correct? So we applied this way, and then we applied some simulations, which is the Monte Carlo simulations with that. And now what we are trying to do is apply that to real data. So I'm quite interested in what Dr. Ravi was saying and others were saying as well, because partly what we are trying to do is solve a problem at a mathematical level, but then we are trying to see how it would apply to a physical field, a physical problem, and things like this with all the parameters involved. So I'm happy to share you my presentation. So essentially we are trying to look at inputs, and this was one of the inputs, and we're trying to look at the output, which is the yield. And you have a formula to do this. Again, this is not something which we are inventing. We are trying to understand, even in sugar you have number of indices and so on and so forth. We are trying to take the existing sort of methods and apply the causal machine learning algorithms to that. And essentially what it involves is trying to look at the yield response curve and try to respond how that would change with all this data, and trying to find the marginal costs and revenues, much of what has been discussed by the previous speakers. So it's not rocket science from that perspective. The complicated thing is the mathematics behind it, which is basically the causal machine learning algorithm, which is the sort of the key message which I'm trying to say, is that when you have a very large number of parameters which impact the yield, it isn't possible to just throw data at it, correct? So people talk about data, people talk about data as a new oil, etc. But when you want to solve a detailed problem, like in this field, at this time, next month, what is the actual chance of change in something? And then we speak to a lot of people. I have friends in all over the world. I have my students from China, and we always talk about the sort of practical things of AI. So I'm very interested in those sort of things, and that's solving real problems, which is what we're trying to do at Oxford with that. So the conclusion, what I want to say is that we are trying to apply this technology, which we picked up from an existing research, but we're trying to apply it to the sugarcane problem. And we know how to do this mathematically, and that's why I talk about Monte Carlo simulations, etc. But what I want to do is apply it to real problems here, which is how we started talking to the Shivaji sir and other people in DSI. And then one message I'd like to say: we're open to collaborations. If you are interested, let us know. So I'm totally wearing an Oxford hat, meaning a completely research hat, not selling you anything. With that, and feel free to contact me. Some more things here if you want to sort of if you want to know a little bit about some of the areas I talked about here. I have some more slides with that. So all of these are standard things. So this is the yield prediction algorithm, which has been announced since 1910. The Monte Carlo mechanism also is quite well known. It's a simulation process used in a number of areas, and we are just applying it to agriculture at a field level and trying to see how this can apply with the causal machine learning algorithm. And the causal machine learning algorithm also takes input from experts, correct? So this is one of the very important distinctions of causal machine learning algorithm, so that when you what is called a cold start problem, if you don't know a particular variable, so AI is about trying to understand the probability distribution of a problem, right? If I don't know what a particular distribution is of a problem, I can't predict the problem. But in many cases, what we are trying to do is use these techniques to solve that large problem, and hopefully we will be able to share more with you as we develop it. So thank you very much. I hope I have finished on time. I think I have.
So you kept within time. Before I open up the question to all the four speakers, anybody has any kind of immediate questions for?
Yeah, I have from this side. Am I permitted
Yes,
from the dais side?
Yes. Yeah.
For hand-holding assignment for the crop estimate and production estimate, what would be the roundabout figure like, if it is not very secretive? Because we are seriously considering that. The crop estimate of sugarcane is always, as Ravi has already mentioned. If AI is going to help us with that, what would be?
I can't tell you an exact
Fine, so we
number,
can
but I
discuss.
will happily discuss with you. No problem at all.
Thank you.
Because this is exactly what I said. We are open to collaborations. I'm wearing an Oxford hat, so it's a completely research hat.
Thank you, sir.
And good, thank you. We'll definitely see. Thank you, sir. Yes.
Okay. Sorry, can you wait for the microphone and please introduce yourself and keep your questions 2 sentences to the most.
Yeah.
Okay.
Microphone.
Microphone.
Yeah.
Hello, this is Nitin Sawan. I just want to know this, what are the simulation models what you are developed?
Yeah, sure.
It is updated.
Yes, it is updated. Monte Carlo simulations are very well known in the industry, not just in agriculture. And we keep on updating it as well. What we are trying to do is combine the causal machine learning algorithms with this problem. So yes, happy to share more with you.
And second question is that how this it is compared with the standard or ideal the model of the, let's say, the growth path of any crop.
Yeah, so I don't think we are actually, we will be doing the same things as them, but the only difference is we take a very large number of factors into consideration, even when you do not have data about that particular problem, and then we are also updating it more frequently. So it's the output will be the same, but the algorithm is different. This is my answer. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, sir. You have a question?
Hold on. Before I now opening up the questions to all the speakers. Okay, that's fine. You stay there. So yes, the next question.
Myself Bukhari. Sir, what is the accuracy level in this estimation? Suppose we estimate, I am having a sugar factory and I estimated in my area with the help of AI, the sugarcane availability is 10 lakh tons. So what is the level of accuracy?
The level of accuracy depends on a lot of factors. At the moment, we are still experimenting. I cannot tell you a number, but what I am trying to do is, I think that let me try to tell you one other example, correct? So if you look at rainfall, yes, so rainfall prediction over the next 2 months or 1 week or 2 weeks is very different. If you do 1 week or 2 week rainfall prediction this is called microclimate prediction. So microclimate prediction combines the level of data from both the satellite as well as sensors, and then you do something called sensor fusion. So my answer is that accuracy is always possible if you have the business model behind it, correct? So if you have a lot of sensors, a lot of data, a lot of things, it's possible. But what we try to do is try to build an economically viable business model so that it works for a range of people. Thanks.
My second question is, we can
Okay, sorry.
we can estimate the quantity of sugar cane. Can we estimate the quantity of sugar also in that?
Yes. That is 100%.
You please limit your questions to one, because I'm sure there are plenty of other people who want to ask. Thank you.
I think it's open to all speakers.
All
now.
speakers, yes,
All speakers
also.
now, just to clarify that
Yeah,
now
okay.
it's open to everyone.
Myself, Dr. N.K. Gaur from Balrampur, Chennai. My question to Mr. Ravi Gupta ji. In future contents, what action plan should adopt by the distillery for the utilization of the distillation capacity 100%?
Interesting question again. Two things I think particularly. Those distilleries who are closer to the grains, I think a dual feed distillery is a very, very good idea. And second, particularly for you, Balrampur, because unlike in Maharashtra and Karnataka, you have zoning 50 kilometers area, and you can actually do a lot of work which Balrampur has already done to grow more cane. So I think these are the two factors which probably can help you. One, multiplicity of the raw material which you do through dual feed, have corn as well as you have an advantage of rice as well. And second is grow more cane. That's the only thing which I can say.
Is it any possibility for the second generation ethanol in future?
No, it is a reality. Forget the possibility. Second generation fuel is a reality because the technology is there. Technology is not an issue. The only issue today is that the viability, feasibility is not there because the 2G ethanol is very, very high. But having said that, even for 2G ethanol, I think this current plant which is 1G ethanol cannot be replicated. I mean, same plant cannot be used fully. Some of the equipments can be used, but not all. So for 1G ethanol plant which you have, the only way to use maximum capacity is to multiplicity of the feedstock as well as working more on sugarcane. Thank you.
Thank you. Before you ask a question, I just want to sort of pick on Dr. Virat, because you're doing a lot of work on digital agriculture in Thailand. I was just wondering whether you have any observations on Ajit's presentation. Can you pass the microphone to him?
Okay, this is Virat from Thailand. For the question I have to continue with him is that how much is the accuracy that you expect to get from this project after you finish? This is the first question. The second question is that for the AI, you need a lot of sample and a lot of data. And when you apply for the sugarcane, it's the whole year. So when you have the whole year, you have just only one set of data. So what is the time frame, in your opinion, that finally we can get the workable model to use in the sugarcane industry? How many years?
Sure. Thank you for your question. So the way we are addressing the problem is in two stages. The first stage is we are trying to look at yield for crops which have smaller life cycle, correct? Because the key issue here is with sugarcane, like you rightly said, there is a very long time before you see the proof of the pudding. Yes. That's what we are trying to do, because what we are doing is not specific to sugarcane. What we are doing is applicable to any yield anywhere. The factors will change, but the concept is the same. As regards to the accuracy, I will share with you as we develop it. It is a very new thing to do. And the critical point I want to make is that there is already AI being applied into this area. And I know, in fact, people from Vietnam, Thailand, India, China, every place is applying that. The trick here is to apply it when you have very large number of factors and when you have unknown factors into many areas. So this is the real problem we are trying to solve. And I think that makes the thing very realistic, and I'm sure I'll share more with Bharat. Thank you.
Sir, myself Uday Patil. I would like to ask Ravi sir and Naiknavare sir, just he has given the answer of this dignitaries regarding the utilization of the distilleries in the future. So right now the policies, everybody knows the policies about the ethanol and all the things. And right now we don't have the permission for the dual feed in the distilleries, that is grain as well as for molasses. Is there any possibilities of whether we can utilize grain as well as molasses so that we can no sir, because what happens sir, some distilleries having two parallel tandems, that is two parallel distilleries, and considering the feedstock, if we use one plant on the grain and one plant on the molasses, so there may be chances of the utilization of the 100% distillery. So for that purpose, we need to take this point with the government also, or state excise also. And what about your opinion about this? That is, we come to know that.
Consider it done. I mean, you want to run dual feed distillery, absolutely no problem on that in the same tender. That's what most of colleagues have done.
Available.
It's available, and if there is any legal issues, it can be easily sorted out. Ugar is already having dual feed, so within the same state, so there is absolutely no risk.
Add Udayji on this, what Ravi has said. I think the future lies in dual feed because the government is lot of promoting maize now. In my presentation, I already said NAFED has been given a mandate to supply maize at a fixed rate. So I think we should all of you, for that matter, not only Mr. Uday, let go for multi-feed. This is the right time because you cannot be depending on sugar and sugarcane alone. Though I belong to sugarcane area, but ethanol is the future fuel, and we need to have more than one feed. Thank you.
Any particular questions for Santosh? No, well, let me ask you one. Many years ago, you said it's much easier to sort of manage what you can measure, but it is not easier to measure what you manage. And Boston Consulting Group did a study in a welding factory, and they found that on Fridays, productivity dropped by 15%. And I was just wondering whether you use data analytics in your factory to measure and sort of monitor performance in that case, because that would be obviously significant cost-saving exercise should you find any disparities.
We don't find any disparity during the Friday and Saturday. We have throughout the month we have continuously production.
So can I ask? So I meant to answer your question, this BCG and all, in India, our productivity doesn't even drop on a Sunday. and also the proof of pudding is in eating. Today is Saturday and 9 o'clock you can see the hall. So that is an example of productivity in India. And so my one thing I must congratulate Santosh for his excellent presentation. And I mean, one of the best presentations I have seen on financial discipline, that how the structure should be made for the financial discipline. Very amazing presentation. But Santosh, since you are from finance, I just wanted to ask you one question. That in all industries, including soybean, which I also know, and wheat flour also know, in soybean we have a system that the specifications are decided based on the foreign matter, moisture, and the protein which is there in the soybean. And the material balance is done 100%. For example, if the soybean has, let's say, 18% oil, you can actually see how much oil has come, how much soybean meal has come, and the material balancing is almost very accurate. In case of sugarcane, not as a technologist, but as a financial analyst, are you able to do the material balance of the pole when it comes in the cane and the resultant recovery of pole, either it is in the form of sugar or molasses or tea has gone into molasses and the invisible loss? That's my question for you.
It is possible, but in Indian sugar industry, we don't have such type of equipments, the online polarimeter and all these things. In foreign country, it is possible, but
We have tried for the
We are not here. Sorry. I'm not going to indulge anybody to sort of get into debate with any of the speakers. We've only got 2 minutes left before I wind up, and we appreciate all the speakers. I really want to encourage students out there to ask questions. I will help you formulate the questions if you are struggling, but do ask. This is a great platform.
And also,
Sorry.
if you want to ask in Marathi or Hindi,
Yes.
I think this is possible.
Yeah, absolutely. Because don't be afraid to ask questions. So I must encourage students. Are there any students who want to ask questions? Okay. Can you please?
Good morning, everyone. Honorable delegates. Myself, Bharat from Cloud